All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing and many salutations to you elect across the four winds of this earth, pushing this word in sincerity and in truth. And shalom to you believers that are out there that do believe in the words of our testimony, which in order for this word to be a true testimony, it has to come in the spirit of prophecy. And it has to be in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the true name of who the world calls Jesus Christ. That's why you read in Revelation 19:10, it says, the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. So if it's not coming in the spirit of prophecy, it can't be considered a true testimony. And his men, his witnesses, will be out testifying openly. I'm the brother Sha'ar from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming at you all with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's willing, this lesson here is edifying. And this lesson here is going to touch up on Revelation, the 21st chapter. All right. And the reason why I want to touch up on this here, really, we have new listeners that are coming in. And again, as I said, there's an influx of listeners that's coming in and that are learning. And they're asking particular questions of sex in the kingdom, you know what I'm saying, hell, and this, that, and the third. So as much as we constantly go into these topics, all right, it does not hurt to go into it again, because the same people might not have listened to that lesson that you've done previously. You know, it's good just to constantly just go in repetition. You know, as these scriptures are repetitive, our testimony is repetitive as well. Okay. So what I'm going to touch up on here in Revelation is going to touch up on how there's going to be eating and drinking in the kingdom of heaven. All right. And I want to start here in Revelation, the 21st chapter. All right. Because there's a few things that if you read this here with lack of understanding, all right, I'm going to have you thinking that there's an actual city falling down from heaven, you know, and the sun is going to be dissolved and there ain't going to be no more water on the planet Earth. All right, and that's when you read that with an incorrect understanding, and that's that's just what you're going to perceive. You know, that's what they teach you in Christianity. All right. Now I'm going to read this here in Revelation 21, and I'm going to start from the top. And it says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea." Now, why did he say a new heaven and a new earth? Because the scriptures say the earth abideth forever. All right. So when you read this here, it's not talking about a literal new planet Earth and a literal new heaven where the Most High and his Son and the angels dwell. All right. This is merely talking about a new age that's coming in, the earth being renewed. OK, it's the earth being renewed. It's really the state of immortality being introduced to the planet Earth. Okay, you're not going to have wicked barren rule in the earth no more. They're not going to have their nest among the stars in the heavens. Okay, you're not going to have space trash circling around the earth anymore. All right, chemtrails in the sky. None of these things, all right, none of these things that are detrimental to life itself isn't going to exist no more. It's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. Okay, and it says, but the first heaven, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. All right. Now, this doesn't mean that there's not going to be any more water. All right. And there's going to be water. OK, it's really just going into people. OK, these same people, there's going to be people on the earth. All right. When we come back from those chariots. All right. New Jerusalem, it's going to be a refresh, a restart. OK, now, obviously, there's going to be certain people that are going to be plucked up from their caves. All right. And just another reason to prove that there's still going to be a sea. Because you read it in the book of Amos, the 9th chapter, where it talks about how the wicked dig into hell, all right, and they hide among the stars, and they hide in the mountains, and even hide in the sea. And that's where he goes to say that he's going to send his serpent to bite them. Okay, so there's going to be a sea without a doubt. And when New Jerusalem comes down, all right, they're going to do some hunting. All right, that's where the nobles and the kings are going to be bound in chains. Okay, and judgment is going to be given unto the elect full-fledged. All right. We come out of those chariots. Lord's willing, we're those men. All right. But Babylon is going to be destroyed, obviously. So that's going to be through. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be dead around this time. So the earth is going to be very, how can I put it? Population wise, it is going to be very thin. All right. And the earth is going to have to be repopulated again. All right. The elect are going to repopulate and have babies. And those are going to be the 2/3 that are coming back. And also the wicked and the heathen are going to be populating and having babies. All right. And the earth is going to be, it's going to abound again. And it's going to be even more in a magnificent scale than before. Thus granted a new heaven and a new earth. Okay. So verse 2 says, and I saw John, Salakia, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And this New Jerusalem isn't actually talking about the actual city, because Jerusalem makes up a people before it's a place. All right. So it's really just talking about the election coming down, those that were chosen and had those new bodies changed and come down in those new changed bodies. All right. This is after the marriage ceremony. OK, that's why it says as a bride adorned for her husband. OK, because that marriage is ultimately going to take place in that chariot. All right. When we get in those chariots, we're going to receive that new body. All right. We're going to receive the law, statutes, commandments in our inward parts. We're going to be joined one completely with Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. We're going to be made perfected. We're going to be perfected. All right. Once we ascend in the clouds, Lord's willing, we're those men. OK. And just to prove that this is talking about a people and not an actual place, one clue there, it says as a bride adorned for a husband. Now, if it's Jerusalem, the actual land, it can't be talking about that. But everywhere where you go to, where it goes to the marriage, the bride, the marriage, it's always talking about his elect, his chosen. All right. And his elect are likened unto his wife. OK, this is Revelation 19:7. And it says, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him. For the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. All right. And who is that wife? It's going into the elect, the saints. How do we know that? Verse 8. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. So this shows you here that New Jerusalem are the saints. All right. Or Israelites, by the way. All right. But this shows you that this New Jerusalem are the saints. And that white that they're going to be arrayed in for that marriage, all right, is symbolic for the righteousness of the saints. All right. And we actually going to wear white, too. You know, but that white that we wear, all right, is going to be synonymous for our chastity. All right. Our humility. OK, our cleanliness, being without blame. All right. And again, it goes into the righteousness of the saints. All right. Because all those embodied together makes up our righteousness, refraining from the flesh, refraining from different things, being different than everybody else on the planet Earth. All right. And that's what the Lord wants. He wants an unblamed, untouched virgin. All right. That's why in these marriages, when a lot of women walk down that aisle, which the huge bulk of them really shouldn't be wearing white. OK, but that's what that white is synonymous for. It's synonymous for purity. OK, that's why when a woman gets married, she's supposed to be a virgin. All right. Really, what marriage is the act of sex for the first time. All right. Well, not necessarily for the man, but for the woman. OK, when a woman is married to a man, all right, and sex consummate marriage. OK, that is the woman's first time engaging in that. And that is her virginity being taken. But she has to come to that man as a virgin in order for her to be married. OK, now I'm going to keep reading and get to the point. This is back in Revelation, the 21st chapter, verse 3. It says, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of the Most High is with men. All right. And it's with men. OK, that's the priesthood. Now, obviously, you're going to have elect women. All right. You're going to have elect women and children. But the tabernacle represents the priesthood. All right. That's why you read it in Revelation, the 5th chapter. It says ye shall be kings and priests. OK, it doesn't say queens and prophetesses in there. OK, it starts with the election, 144,000 who are going to be the ruling, governing body in the planet Earth under King David. Okay. And they're going to operate as the royal priesthood. So that's the tabernacle of the Most High being with men. Okay. And when you read, it says, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and the Most High himself shall be with them and be their God. All right. And that's that Hosea, the first chapter, being fulfilled as well. All right. When the Lord said, you shall not be my people, for I shall call you Loami. And in that land where you're not my people, then you shall be children of the living God. Then it goes in to talk about how he's going to be our God and we're going to be his people. Okay. And this is the event that all of us are looking towards. All right. What we're reading right now is what our forefathers even inquired about: the day of salvation, the day of change, the day of refreshing. Okay. When you continue in verse 4, it says, and the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrows nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. All right. And really what this is going into the curses being lifted completely. The whole curse being lifted. All right. Because even though we're not under the curse of the law no more, but there's still particular curses that we have to experience and go through as we're on this side. One of them is being in captivity in the land that we were held captive at. All right. Another one is having your bag full of holes. Cursed be thy basket in the field. All right. These are things that we still have to experience. The bitterness, the sorrow. Okay. That's why you read it in James, the 4th chapter. It says to turn to the Lord with weeping and in mourning. Okay. So these are things that we have to experience on this side. And what we experience is it also plays a part in our refinement process. Okay. Because in the kingdom, when we receive those new bodies, we're not going to need to be refined anymore. We're going to be perfect. Okay. But here, in order to stay humble and to stay on good standards or standings with the Most High, we have to go through this trial period. All right. In order to be accepted. Okay. So that's why he says in that day, there's going to be no crying or no sorrow or as such, because those proven grounds are going to be over and those curses are going to be completely lifted. Okay. Now I'm going to read this here in Revelation, the 7th chapter, because you got people in Christianity. All right. Like I mentioned before, certain people will say there's not going to be an earth no more. It's going to be a new physical heaven and all of these things. I mean, we've heard vocab say that before. And I just tackled up briefly going into how that's really just talking about a new existence, a new way of life. Okay. But something else that they'll be quick to say is that you're not going to eat in the kingdom of heaven, you know. And that's another reason why I wanted to touch upon this topic too, because we see a lot of these old topics being brought back up because there are more new listeners coming out taking heed. All right. So that's why you see men going back into the hell doctrine or back into sex in the kingdom. Okay. And another thing in the kingdom that we will be doing is going to be eating. Okay. Because we're going to have to keep the Passover. Okay. We're going to have to keep the Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles. We're going to keep those things. So we're going to eat. Okay. Now people will read this here in Revelation, the 7th chapter, and they'll read this here to try to prove that there's not going to be any eating or drinking anything in the kingdom of heaven. Okay. But I'm going to dismiss that. All right. And show you what this truly means. This is Revelation 7:15. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 14. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of Yahushua and the blood of the Lamb. There goes those white garments again. Verse 15 says, Therefore, they before the throne of the Most High, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. Now, what is this going into? All right. Does this mean that there's going to be no sun anymore? Does it mean that you're not going to experience a hot day? That's not what it's talking about. Does it mean that you're not going to eat anymore? No. I made the point earlier going into those curses that were in us are going to be completely lifted. And when we get out of that chariot, we're not going to have to experience those curses no more. Because as it said right here, that when you continue, well, I'm going to read back to what I just read. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst anymore. Why did he say that? Okay. Why did he say that if he's obviously not talking about physically eating and drinking? All right. That's going to be done in the kingdom. But when you go back to the curses here in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and I believe it's in the 48th verse. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 48. And this is going into the curses that the Most High put on us for going off. Okay. It says, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. And as you serve your enemies, what type of state and spirit you're going to be in? You're going to feel sorrowful. You're going to feel weeping. You're going to feel affliction. All right. Because you're not sovereign. You don't have rulership, especially when you know who you are. Well, first and foremost, you know who your God is. You know who his son is, and you know who you are. But you're in this low ass state where you can't do anything in your flesh to really fix it and change it. All right. And you really sit back down, and it'll make you in a state of damn. That's why the scriptures say where much knowledge cometh much sorrow. OK. And when you have knowledge that you're an Israelite that fell from grace in a state of captivity. All right. With all this knowledge that you have in the scriptures and knowing how we went off, it's going to cause that sorrow to come to play. Especially if you're somebody that's righteous, you know. So I'm going to jump back to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. All right. So one of the curses said that we were going to be in hunger and in thirst in a low state. OK. So that had to happen to us. We were, and even still to this day, because we're in captivity. All right. But we ain't eating like that. I mean, you know, first and foremost, we eating in the spirit, because that's the first form of nutrition for the elect. OK, but I'm talking about physically eating. The majority of us ain't just balling out like that. Now, you got certain Israelites that are brethren. All right. And even sisters, too, that have been blessed to be well off in certain forms and fashions. But namely, that's really just to aid the elect, to aid everybody. Just like you had in the book of Acts, I believe it was what was it, Barnabas? Barnabas had an estate. All right. And that estate was used to help shelter and house those believers that came in, those multitudes that came in. You know, so you're going to have certain people, where I'm getting at, that are eating a little more than others, but we're still considered a poor and afflicted people as pertaining to the book of Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. OK, so it says, ye shall serve your enemy in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. All right. And that nakedness is likened unto your shame being shown. All right. And when we came over to this land, we were literally naked, too. You know, we were humiliated. All right. But when you jump back to Revelation, the 7th chapter, which again, this shows you that this isn't talking about physically eating. It's going into the state that we were in, the state of being lowly. It's the state of being afflicted. OK, that's why verse 14 said, these are they that came out of great tribulation. So back in Revelation chapter 7, verse 16, they shall hunger no more, nor thirst anymore. Going back to those curses. We're not going to be stricken by that particular curse anymore. You're not going to be among the heathen scattered anymore. All right. When you read this here in Revelation 7, we are sovereign right here in these verses. We've received the new garments of white coming down out of those chariots, living forevermore, being immortal. And that's coming soon, too, by the way, very soon. The apostle Paul said sooner than we believe. OK, very soon. Verse 17 says, for the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them and shall lead them into living fountains of water. And the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And that's that captivity being lifted. The curse is being lifted completely. OK, us being made sovereign again in a sovereign state. That's exactly what that's going into. All right. And I'm going to read this here in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter. And I believe that's going to be, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to read this here in 2nd Ezra 13 and 13. Because again, when this was read in Revelation 7, it talked about how they weren't going to cry anymore. All right. Now, one might ask, well, no, in the kingdom of heaven, you're not going to cry anymore, because it says it right there. there's going to be no more weeping. All right. But again, it shows you when you read about that, it's talking about how that bitterness is going to be taken away from. You can still cry of joy. You're still going to cry of gladness. This is 2 Ezra 13:13. And it says, matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 12. Afterward, I saw the same man, and this is talking about Yahushua. All right. This is talking about when Yahushua and the host comes down and incinerates our enemies. And this is what he's going to do with the righteous. It says, afterward saw I the same man come down from heaven and call unto him another peaceable multitude. And there came, see, a peaceable multitude. And there came much people unto him. All right. That's why you read it. It talks about a people without number, an innumerable people. OK, this is also to the covenant or the oath that was given unto Abraham being fulfilled. OK, so it says, and there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad and some were sorry and some were bound and some brought to them that were offered. Then was I sick through great fear, and I awakened and said, and you know, it's going to continue to go into it down. But the point is, it says some of these individuals that get delivered up and meet with Yahushua in the air are going to be excited. All of us are going to be excited, but some are going to show that excitement outwardly with smiles and hoorays and such. Some are going to show that glee with sorrow, not sorrow. I'm sorry. They're going to show that glee with tears, praising the Lord with tears. Okay. And that's what it's going into. All right. Again, these are they that came out of great tribulation. So to understand how great that tribulation is and how it's going to be, and to still hold fast until the end, that's something to marvel at. You even read it in the book of 2 Ezra, the 2nd chapter, where Ezra even said that he marveled at these individuals greatly. He himself, and this is Ezra, who was given a heavy portion, but he said that he marveled at these individuals greatly, and they came out of great tribulation. These are they that had crowns placed on their head. And just as a footnote, I mean, that's really a big deal when you look at it, because Ezra was very well looking at you in a vision. All right. Ezra was very well looking at you in a vision, receiving that crown. And Ezra potentially marveled at you greatly. OK. And the reason why I said as a footnote, because there's times when you might have that thought, I wonder who I could have been in the ancient world. You know, I wonder if I was a shoe shiner, or I wonder if I was a fisher or somebody that drew water or whatever it was, or I wonder if I was whatever prophet. You know, those thoughts come and go. You know what I'm saying? But where I'm getting at is, you don't think those men ain't sit back and think about who they was going to be in the future? You know? Just pointing at your significance in this day. They was looking at, I wonder who I'm going to be, and I wonder if I'm going to endure to the end. Hey, even Ezra said, who shall deliver me in those days? And he wept, you know. So they knew how great and terrible that day is going to be. So to really sit back and think of who you were in that day, back in the ancient world, who they were going to be and what they were going to do, you can kind of look at it like they probably thought about that harder than us thinking about that back then. Because the scriptures say better is the end of a thing than the beginning, you know? So you don't got to focus and think too deep of what you was doing back then. Of course, that thought's going to come. You know what I'm saying? But more so marvel at the fact that those people back then thought about you today. And Ezra and John and these people saw these visions of these people coming down with these robes. That could very well be you, you know, just as a footnote. But going back to that point, you know, it said in the 2nd Ezra 13:13, some of them were glad, they were sorrowful and such. Not sorrowful, but they were sad. Okay, because, you know, certain of them probably felt unworthy. You know, a lot of them feel unworthy, and that's going to cause weeping as well. You know, but just wanted to touch upon that because it's a balance. So when you read it in Revelation 7 and Revelation 21, where it says there's not going to be any more crying and such, that's talking about bitterness. That's talking about bitterness and tribulation and affliction. All right. That hunger and that thirst that is going into is talking about bitterness and affliction. It's not talking about you're not literally going to eat or have to drink anything no more. No, It's talking about the bitterness and the affliction that the elect aren't going to have to experience no more. Okay? And I'm going to end it off here in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7. So like he once said. Chapter 7, and I'm going to read verse 33. And it reads, 2nd Ezra 7 and 33. It says, let me see here. You know what? I'm going to start at verse 32. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her. And so shall the dust of those that dwell in silence in the secret places shall deliver these souls that are committed unto them. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away. All right. And what is this going into? The new heaven and the new earth. All right. Misery is going to pass away. Misery exists on this side. Misery is not going to exist in the new earth that's to come. All right. You're not going to have to worry about breathing in air that'll kill you, that has barium oxide and aluminum in it. You're not going to have to worry about drinking bottled water. And you know what I'm saying? Sad, you can't even drink water out of a faucet. You know, you got to drink bottled water. You got to worry about your children. You got to worry about yourself, what you're eating, how old the food is that you're eating. Misery is going to be taken away. All those things that I said are applied with misery. And we ain't going to have to experience that no more. Soon. Soon. Trust and believe. Soon. When you continue, it says, and long suffering shall have an end. Okay, long suffering shall have an end. So there's not going to be any more of that. The things that we're going to have to experience. Death is going to be taken in victory completely. It's already been swallowed up in victory with Yahweh Shai. All right. And since Yahweh Shai had done what he had done, this is the fruit of that. This is the fruit of that, man. Okay. So rejoice and be grateful. We're not going to have to experience that no more. Okay. But namely, I wanted to touch up on, you know, in Revelation 7, where it says they shall not hunger or thirst. In Revelation 21, where it says the sun, there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. I wanted to touch up on those to show you that that's more so just talking about the old world being brought away and a new era coming in. That's all it's talking about. Okay. The curses being lifted completely and the laws being placed in us 100%. So I'm going to end it off on that. Lord's will, it was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing and many salutations to you elect, pushing this word in sincerity and in truth. And shalom to you believers that are out there, which consist of you men, you women, and you children that believe in the words of our testimony. And to you believers, even if you give a prophet some water, you shall receive that reward.